you're watching the Top 6 Show, the original multi-club fan channel. Make sure you're following us now on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. The link is in the description below. The Top 6 Show is Friday night, the last Premier League weekend before another international break. There's lots of big games. United host Brentford. Brighton will be taking on Liverpool. Can Chelsea make it 2 wins on the bounce in the Premier League? We're looking into all of those games, plus the big one this weekend that's got everybody's mouths watering. Arsenal hosting champions, not just champions, treble winners, Manchester City at the Emirates Stadium. Stay with us throughout all of it. Hit like buttons if you haven't done so yet. Please share this stream now across your social media platforms and encourage more to come watch it. Brilliant panel for you tonight. Representing Arsenal, we've got man like Egal in the house with us and Rory here, ready to, I'm sure, give us their thoughts on all things football, but back Arsenal tonight. We've, of course, got Moagenda. It wouldn't be the football terrace without Moagenda. And I wonder what pearls of wisdom he's going to share with us tonight. We've got man like Don. He's here. Delighted after 2 back-to-back wins for Chelsea, looking to make it 2 on the bounce in the Premier League as well, and 2 City fans together. This may be a record on the Football Terrace show to have 2 on at the same time. Of course, we've got Nobbins, resident of the Terrace, and Lewis here as well. How is everyone? Everyone well? Everyone good?
Yeah, man.
Good, man.
Yeah,
good.
I'm just astonished you found 2 City fans on the same day.
Oh,
We already made that
oh
joke,
my
man.
God. Jesus, that's the funniest thing I've ever heard, Mo.
We're on the same show, bro. I've been doing this show forever. I've never seen a 2 City fans.
We've already made that joke off screen. It doesn't count.
I did?
I did.
You did yourself.
Self-deprecating humour. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's fine.
Preempting it.
There we go. And I'm looking forward to the preview later on. Who to start with this week? Do you know who we're going to start with? Just to get it. Liverpool go to Brighton. Get out of the way.
Just for the people that are watching us off the show, before we started, Terry asked, okay, and Don said, oh, can we stop talking about Liverpool now?
Hey,
here you go, Terry. It's like good in way for the start of the show.
We haven't got to cover the VAR stuff. We've got to talk about the game. Liverpool is still a football club. They're no longer political activists now. They are back to being a football club. They play Brighton. How do people see this going? Because Zerbi was the next Pep 3 weeks ago. Now there's a lot of people calling him out because his team are leaking goals. They're not winning games. Liverpool go there in very good form. Although they lost against Spurs, it wasn't like they were beaten off the park 11v11. How do we see this one going at the weekend, boys?
I'll come in on this one. I think Liverpool will get the dub here. To be honest with you, yeah, I said this about Brighton. I think Brighton played great football. Some of the best football probably anywhere in Europe. The energy that they play with, the speed at which they play. But I just have a bit of a concern about whether that's sustainable with European football. And some people will say, yeah, it is first. You know what I mean? If it is, great. I just don't know, man. I just don't know if you can play that high intensity game on a Thursday and then do it again on a Sunday, and especially do it against a club like Liverpool. You might be able to do it on Thursday and then go play like a Luton or a team near the bottom of the table or whatever and get away with it. But in my opinion, doing it against Liverpool, mate, especially with the pace that they've got in behind, I don't see anything other than a Liverpool.
He's stubborn. He's stubborn. We spoke about this. He's stubborn, and he wants to build something for this Brighton, for himself. He's gonna keep doing it, even if he loses games, because from the look at it, I was talking to LB earlier, and then he actually enlightened me about that Zerbi plays youngsters just for them to shine, so they can sell them. So he knows where the club is heading. The pressure or no pressure, I don't think there is a lot of pressure from the board for him to win or get top 4, or because you wouldn't want to win and play an 18 years old against Aston Villa away from home when you have your starter lineup, when you're starting guy in the middle sitting on the bench. He's absolutely great to have in the Premier League, that someone else plays that brand of football like Pep Guardiola. You stick to your principles and you'll get somewhere once you get better players. If he goes to a bigger club and he has better caliber of players, I think this system will work. It works for Pep. People doubted tiki-taka football with Pep. I remember that in 2017. People said it's not going to work. He stuck to it and it worked. Look where they are now. So why people are saying that Zerbi, you're stubborn? It's the same thing.
You want to know something? It's easy for people to talk about De Zerbi rotations in the Premier League when he does rotate. But now that he actually is going to be playing 2 games a week in Europe, he's going to also be doing this for when the Premier League in the winter fixtures. It's going to be a lot more of a test for his squad and how much his squad is actually capable of doing this. So even though Liverpool played a strong team in Europe over the weekend, I still believe that this might be a close game, but Liverpool having the better quality of a team, they're going to get through it. It's going to be a close win, but hey, I just want to see how they do throughout the rest of the season. I don't think this is the game where we're going to see that European effect on them. Maybe a couple months down the line, we're going to see that.
I just feel like a bit sorry for Brighton because they clearly just haven't replaced or been able to replace Caicedo yet. They've lost a lot of players over the last couple of years. You think of Cucurella. They even lost their manager as well. You think of losing Basuma as well. And I say Caicedo was people can question whether he settled into Chelsea or not yet, but he was a massive asset for Brighton. It's not really a player that they've been able to replace yet. And maybe that transfer strategy is potentially catching up with them. And I think Mo touched on it. If they had a better caliber and quality of player, then De Zerbi's football would work better and it would be more consistent. So people are looking at Brighton in like in Europe and they're going, he's not getting great results. Is De Zerbi a fraud? I think it's just because he's playing a style of football which is maybe beyond the means of the current level of players that he currently has. If De Zerbi had Man City type players, for example, I think that we would see it pay off a lot more.
On the flip side, I know Liverpool are firing away right now, and obviously they're looking good this year, right? And see, Brighton aren't looking good right now. But don't you guys think that if anyone's gonna outplay that press, it's Brighton to do it? You know what I'm saying? I know they lost out on Caicedo, but they've still got the personnel in the right positions, especially in midfield. I think they're a little bit more balanced than Liverpool because they're yet to. Liverpool still don't have that 6. Do you know what I mean? Right now they play McAllister. I think right now the way Brighton play. It could be a little bit of a banana peel for Liverpool at the weekend, in all honesty. I think Liverpool have a little bit too much firepower. I watched the Brighton game against Villa. They were making a lot of individual mistakes. That's one thing about De Zerbi's system. Like, everyone needs to be on the same wavelength. As soon as one thing happens and it's not right, it's a domino effect. It affects the whole system. But if Brighton are switched on and they have that quality on the day, they could catch Liverpool out, to be honest with you. They could, because they're a very good team at beating that press, man. And Liverpool press well. So,
but I think it's the other way, Don. Like, if any team in the league that suits Liverpool's style of play this season, it's actually Brighton. Like, now,
Brighton know how to play out of a press, though. Brighton know how to play out of a press.
However, but if Aston Villa can pick on the right player to get the ball off them and hit them with 6 goals, what do we think this Liverpool front line can do to this Brighton team?
And that's why I said individually they need to be switched on, because that
they will make mistakes because Liverpool players are better than Aston Villa players.
Yeah, I mean that
by a mile.
I've seen Brighton. I've seen Brighton have very good games where no one's making mistakes like that. Against Villa, they were rattled and they were away from home. They're at home this time round. That could help them. Do you know what I mean? That's how I'm looking at it right now. I'm not saying that I do think Liverpool will beat them, but I don't think it's going to be as plain sailing as what people are saying. I think Brighton will still do what Brighton do, but they just everyone needs to be switched on, man.
I think it'll be quite a comfortable Liverpool win. I don't think Brighton can play out of the press that well this season so far, and especially against the Liverpool press. They've got no one at the base of that midfield to receive the ball, and yeah,
you don't trust Gilmore?
Yeah, but not massively. No, from what I've seen this season, I think that's where they've struggled. I think the midfield is where they've struggled. Estupinan's now out for a long time as well, and I think Liverpool are going to be proving a point. They'll probably get a couple of nice decisions go their way, and I think it'll end up being. In fact, it could end up being another absolute battering, I think.
I think the Zerbi has this thing is that he's similar to Guardiola. He really makes his player look better on that. Like he makes Billy Gilmour look like a midfielder of the league that can play anywhere. But like reality, Billy Gilmour's ability is probably not at the top 6 level, but he's playing there. The likes of Solimaj, like Mitoma's good, but he actually that system hides flaws, a lot of flaws. But when they get exposed big time. Like they lose like 5 or 6. That's the thing about it. It's like everything has to be perfect, and it's not going to be perfect because as Nobin said, the caliber of player, we have to understand these are not the top quality players that they are. Like it's not all of them are going to be a Caicedo. Some of them aren't.
I think, and just like maybe the final issue is that it's at Brighton, isn't it? It's not at Anfield.
Yeah, so,
the two main games where Brighton have struggled this season was when they got battered by Villa and battered by West Ham. And both of those teams basically just sat off Brighton and allowed them to play their football and just hit them on the counter-attack. So it wouldn't surprise me if Liverpool just set up, not to, be absolutely defensive, but it wouldn't surprise me if they just allowed Brighton to have, the majority of the ball, like 60, 65% or whatever, and then with their pace on the counter and their fantastic forwards, just hit Brighton in the same way that we saw West Ham and Villa did.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be surprised either. Look, they beat Man United 3-1, convincing scoreline. But again, if you actually watch that game, United should have been a goal or two up ever before Brighton had their first opportunities. And even after their goals, we had ample opportunity to score. We just couldn't finish our dinner. And they do look vulnerable this year after losing McAllister and Caicedo, but they're also for the first time ever playing in Europe. And I don't think the Thursday, Sunday thing is a big excuse for the big clubs. I really don't. Thursday, Sunday is no different to Wednesday, Saturday, which happens in the Champions League. But when it's the first time you've ever played European football, I do think that's going to take a little bit of time and adjusting to, even just in terms of knowing how to handle it as a football club, because it's a whole new experience for them. But yeah, I think Liverpool might give them a battering this weekend as well. I really do think they could give them a bit of a slap this weekend, and Liverpool will want that because, of course, whether they say they're over it or not publicly, they're still hurting after last weekend, and you can't really take the Europa League performance overly seriously. They played in second gear. I think they're going to want to go out there early Sunday afternoon, below Brighton away, and sort of leave that marker for the next 2 weeks until the Premier League returns. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. Aaron Ramsey here says Liverpool will better good. F no Rubbish Jones. Are you saying you're going to be better because there's no Curtis Jones? Yes, he's missing. Fair enough. That's what you think. Appreciate the super chat. Liverpool fans watching, let us know if you agree. Please make sure like buttons have been hit. Make sure you're subscribing to the Football Terrace as well. In terms of Chelsea, Don, you've got on paper a relatively easy game away at Burnley. They haven't really set the world alight in the Premier League yet. There was a lot of hype when they came up. Are you confident you can go there and get that win after Monday night's performance? Or are you still worried about putting that ball in the back of the net and being caught out by a team like Burnley?
I'm starting to get a little bit more confident now since Poch has made the tweaks since the Brighton game. Taking certain personnel out, putting certain personnel in certain positions. You've brought in Cole Palmer now, who's actually bringing a lot of attacking intent into our team. One thing that I was saying week after week, Terry, was as much as we were keeping the ball, I wasn't enjoying how we were playing. We weren't looking fluid. Do you know what I mean? There wasn't that link between the midfield and the attack. And now Cole Palmer's brought that in abundance. Do you know what I'm saying? Against Brighton, he got 2 assists. Obviously, one didn't count because he was offside. And the other day for Broja, he played a big part in us scoring that goal. So now I'm actually seeing Chelsea, when we're attacking, we're looking very fluid. If you guys noticed against Fulham, I was actually at the game. Enzo was dropping a bit deeper and Gallagher was playing further up. Do you know what I'm saying? If Gallagher can put up performances like that, I'm not going to have any complaints. Do you know what I mean? So how I'm looking at it right now is that we're actually attacking with a lot more intent in what we're doing. We're not just keeping the ball to keep the ball. We're not just going down the right and, whipping it in for no reason. Now we're actually trying to put it on the plate for the attackers that we've got. So I am definitely feeling a lot more confident. And that's down to the changes that I've been begging for from Poch. Do you know what I mean? He's trusting our players a little bit more, the younger players with quality. I know you guys like to obviously go on about experience, but like I've said 1,000,001 times, the reality is we're working with young players. But I believe in their quality, and Poch is now believing in their quality, and we look a lot better. So yeah, I am a little bit more confident now that we'll beat Burnley. To be honest,
bro, your confidence levels are going to get dashed, man. Because VK, big Vinny Kompany, he's got his first 3 points in the bag. I'm telling you, mate. It's going to be popping off at
Listen,
it's going to be going on.
Lewis, yeah? Bro, I watch Burnley. Listen, it's like watching Chelsea this season, right? They keep the ball, they play this pretty football, but it's like they've got no striker. You know what I mean? When they get in that final third, they freeze. They should have battered Man United, but they just don't have attackers really. They attack from their left-hand side, but apart from that, it's very weak, and defensively, we've been very, very good. Even the other day when I was watching us at the ground, I was saying because I was with Charlie at the time, yeah? Big up Charlie. Like I was saying, look at our shape. We're so well drilled. Like everyone knows what they're doing defensively. We're looking good. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not worried about Burnley's firing power because we're not even against United, who are just leaking goals left, right.
Well, you need to be worried, man. You need to be worried. bro. I'm telling you.
They couldn't score.
Burnley
I'm
played all right. Burnley played all right, man. Burnley
played. Yeah, but the thing is, Burnley. This is what I'm saying. What are you doing with the ball? You can keep the ball. You can play that pretty football, but what are you doing in the final third? They don't have that. They don't bring you that danger.
Yeah, you got to think that at some point that will click, though, right? Like they're not just going to score goals all season, surely. Yeah, well, I'm thinking hopefully they will.
Not against us, because defensively we've actually been all right this season. I'll be real with you. Like a lot of the goals that we've conceded have been stupid individual mistakes. I know a goal can always come from a mistake, but if you actually look at the mistakes that we've had, yeah, it's been a howler. Do you know what I mean? Now, like I said, we've got a little bit more cohesion. I'm seeing a lot more patterns. You know, it looks a lot better. And Terry can vouch, because I've been on here complaining about us week after week, saying we're not doing anything with the ball. But now we're looking a lot better, man. So yeah, I'm feeling a lot more confident about Burnley, man. I think
if Manchester United can win 2-0, if Manchester United can win 2-0 against Burnley and Chelsea don't win, I don't know what to say about Chelsea, to be honest. You cannot lose to Burnley. They keep the ball and do all of this. You need to win again. I'm not taking this. Vincent Kompany, pretty football, fantastic, but you have championship players, my friend. You still need to get results. Yes, you got one.
You want to know something?
It's fantastic, you know, but
Don, you said something about you're not afraid of Burnley's attack. Nobody's afraid of Chelsea's attack either. The reality is it's between whoever scores out of the two of you, and then the other one's and then you're gonna have to shut up shop. You said your defense is good. Their defense is quite poor. So I think if they get a goal against you guys, they're gonna try to hold on to that. But their home form has been horrendous.
Egal, the main difference.
Team. So for Chelsea, not only should you guys win, you guys this should be the opportunity where you guys start getting a lot of form from your players and you push on. But if Burnley score and they get an early lead, we know Chelsea, when there's a low block and they do that and they play defensive football, you don't tend to score.
But Egal, the reason why we struggled against
if Vincent Kompany will change his tactics if he's 1-0 up. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, the main reason why we struggled against low blocks, bro, is because we were literally putting out two attackers. We were playing Ben Chilwell left wing. You know, we were playing Enzo in the 10, playing Gallagher in the pivot, was playing Levi. We're playing basically three centre backs. We're still doing that now, but what's happened is we've brought in Cole Palmer, who's actually that link between the midfield and the attack. So like I said, we're creating more clear-cut chances. A lot of the chances we were creating before, bro, they were very, very scrappy. Do you know what I mean? Some of them were howlers, yes, like Jackson when they missed against Forest. That was a howler. I can't excuse that. You should be burying that. But if you actually watched our games, we haven't been creating the chances through the midfield. Lewis, he'll tell you about the game against Wolves. Haaland wasn't getting the chances that he usually gets. Do you know what I'm saying? Some of these strikers, sometimes you need to actually put it on the plate for them. And that's what we've been doing the past two games. So I'm feeling more confident that we'll create those sort of chances. So we should be burying them now. And Burnley don't play a low block either.
Do you think Chelsea have turned the corner? As Don sort of suggested.
Chelsea play Arsenal after the international break. They're going to get spanked. It's typical Chelsea. They're going to win a couple games. They're going to get happy. And then they're going to get, once they start facing the big boys after the international break, you look at that fixture list, it's going to be hard times for them to even pick up points.
See, this is what they were doing before the Spurs game as well.
No, but the way
you lot were talking, so arrogant.
Don, it's not arrogance. This is the reality. You could not beat Nottingham Forest at home. You only beat Luton Town this season in the league.
Have you not just heard everything I've said about? Have you not just heard what I've said about how we've changed things tactically?
It's not a situation where it's arrogance. It's literally Chelsea Football Club have not given you yourself as a Chelsea fan the confidence to sit here and say you're going to beat Burnley easily. So what?
But Egal, I've just told you that Poch has literally changed the tactics, bro. And I said that if Poch carried on playing the way we were at the beginning of the season, we wouldn't finish in the top 6. I've been saying that, bro. So you can't use how we were playing before when we've changed that now to say, oh, that's the reason why Arsenal.
But what I can tell you is you're going to be facing tougher opposition than Fulham, than Nottingham Forest, than Luton Town.
Guess what? We've looked more fluid than you this football.
The next couple games after Burnley. 1 second. The next couple games after Burnley. Understand that you're going to be playing Arsenal, Brentford. Then after that, you're going to have Tottenham, Man City, Newcastle, Brighton, Manchester United. You guys you haven't turned the corner. Once you start facing the big teams, then you're actually going to realize how poor you guys are.
That's fine, Egal. But I'll be real with you. I've got some. Listen, I've been saying Arsenal ain't looked convincing this season, and I'll be real with you. I've seen Chelsea play more fluid football than you lot this season. Do you know what I'm saying? You lot might have more guaranteed goals in your team, but we've looked more fluid than you, my brother. I'll be real with you.
Guess what?
You can come with the. Hold on.
Mo, let me address that.
He asked you a simple question, Egal. He told you, did Chelsea turn the corner? He could have answered no and given all the reasons.
Bro.
You didn't have to say you're in the mud, you're shit. You didn't have to slander them and say you're going to get spanked.
I gave them
you
the honest.
Have to say all of
One
this.
second.
There
I gave them
no
the honest
reason to say that
assessment.
they're going to get
They haven't
spanked
turned the
and all
corner
this
yet.
stuff.
They haven't faced the big teams. Once they start to face the big teams, they're going to get a reality check again. But to say you have fluid football, bro, guess what? Bossing the midfield and not doing anything in the final third is not fluid football.
No. We've looked more fluid than you in the league this season, bro. We have.
Say what you want to say, bro. What do you define as fluid? Passing the ball around and not doing nothing.
No, I'm talking about creating clear-cut chances is what I'm talking about.
And not finishing them off against
we
lesser
literally,
opposition.
The other week, we literally created double the clear-cut chances that you did. And so I use stats as a secondary. Hold on. I use stats as a secondary factor to my eye test, yeah? My eyes are telling me that you lot aren't looking as fluid as what you were. Whether you want to convince yourself otherwise, right, you can do all of that. But the arrogance from you, Egal, is the reason why he was in the mud.
Arrogance?
No. Let me talk.
What
bro.
arrogance?
The arrogance. No, because you're like,
Arsenal's going to beat you convincingly.
Bro, because you're talking like things haven't changed. Poch hasn't changed his tactics. Poch hasn't changed the personnel. You're talking about Chelsea from the start of the season where we had Ben Chilwell left wing, bro.
What are you talking about, bro? You just drew against Bournemouth last week. Like the other week.
2 weeks ago.
Like, what are we talking about?
3 weeks ago, before
you
the international
lost
break.
Villa just the other week. Like, what are we talking about? You're making it seem like a win against Brighton, a win against Brighton in the League Cup, and a win against Fulham away. All of a sudden, Chelsea have turned the corner.
I never said we've turned the corner. I said I feel more confident now because Poch has made some changes that have been.
Hey, guess what? You can feel more confident, but from what I've seen, I haven't seen enough to say you guys have turned the corner. You need to beat Burnley convincingly.
That's fair enough.
You need to beat Burnley convincingly and actually have a performance where you score a bunch of goals and it's not Luton Town at home.
Gal,
and that's fair enough.
Are you scared of a future Chelsea storm impending? By that, I mean...
Until Chelsea show that they can actually run a club properly, no one should be scared of them.
By that, I mean a more long-term view. So, for example, next season, from my perspective, it's only a matter of time before Chelsea properly click because there's too much good talent at Chelsea for it to not succeed eventually.
But do they have the patience? They might sack Poch by then, and they're going to have another manager to make it click. We don't know what's going to happen at Chelsea. It's very unknown. I'm not sitting here saying it's going to be an utter failure. I'm just merely saying they haven't shown enough to say they've even remotely turned the corner. And to be confident as a Chelsea fan, fair, you're a Chelsea fan. You're going to be confident. That's your team. But for me, as a rival looking in, I don't see enough.
But Egal, for me saying that I feel confident about Burnley doesn't mean that we've turned the corner. I'm with you, bro. I agree with you. I need to see more for me to say that we've actually turned the corner. I need a larger sample size. But from what I've been seeing at the start of the season, in comparison to what I've seen in the past 2 games, with the players that I've been begging for, with Poch being a little bit more brave and trusting his younger players, we've looked a lot better. And it's been in the sort of, we're playing like how it was in pre-season now. We're looking a lot better, bro. That's just the fact of it.
2 games against Fulham and Brighton is what you're getting confidence from. You guys are actually struggling this season, and that's what's giving you confidence. Hey, fair enough.
You go game by game, innit? That's what you got to do.
Can I ask you a question? I will ask Mo this question because you're like no dog in this fight per se. But do you feel that there's been a tactical change at Chelsea, or do you just think they've taken their chances in the last 2 matches? Has it been that big a shift tactically, or has it just been different personnel have put the ball in the back of the net?
No, it's not tactically changing completely. I think it's more confidence. Players are playing with confidence. I don't know what Poch did, but I thought that pass that Levi Colwill did for Modric, he wouldn't have done it 3 weeks ago. It's just him going forward like this. It's not tactically they were creating chances. I think they are the 4th in the league in creating big chances. They are 1st in ball position. They were creating the chances, and Jackson wasn't just putting it in the back. The coach isn't going to step on the pitch and put the ball in the back of the net. If you reach the goal, this is the coach's job. Now it's on the players to put the ball in the back of the net. They weren't. They are now, so they're winning the game. Tactically, they haven't changed that much.
They have changed tactically. I don't understand.
Not that much.
I don't understand how. Literally, Conor Gallagher came out after last game and literally said, Poch told me and Enzo to rotate, so for me to go further up and for Enzo to be the deeper man. Before that, Enzo was literally playing 90 minutes as a 10, in the position that you say he can't play in, by the way. Cole Palmer wasn't starting games. He kept coming on for what 15 minutes.
But that's not
and
tactically. That's changing personnel. That's not tactically. Then.
No, it is changing. It is changing tactics.
That's
no. It's changing tactics, bro. Because you're telling one player to play in a different position. You are changing tactics.
Not tactics.
Yes, you are changing tactics.
I think for the most part, it's the same tactical setup. You're just putting.
There's different personnel that will click and put the ball at the back or create.
Yeah, okay.
That's my point. We're not different. We're not different on that. I think he changed the right personnel in the right places. If you call that tactically, which is fine, it's just different definition. But what I mean is that Pochettino probably woke up and said, yeah, this is not going to work. Maybe I need Enzo next to Caicedo. Maybe he put the right personnel, so it clicked. Now you're creating the chances. Broya looks good as well. I didn't think that Jackson looks bad. Jackson, I think his movement was good, but people just were looking at him. He's not putting the ball at the back in the net. I hope he does, because I like the player. Honestly, I like what he did against Brighton. I like him. I like him. In my opinion, Chelsea, if it clicks, you cannot tell me that Levi Colwill, Enzo, Caicedo, Cole Palmer is a fantastic player. Yes, he doesn't have the experience, but these are talented players that it should work. On paper, it should work. I don't like Mudryk, but the rest of them, they're good. They are not bad. They are not bad. I like all the hate, you know me. I don't like the project. I want the project to fail, but I'm being honest. It looks better now. And 2 games, I think, is a good sample size. We were criticizing Arsenal after 2 games. Why we cannot praise Chelsea after 2 games? It's the same.
Because it's a game in the League Cup and it's a game against Fulham.
You can praise them, bro, but we can't start like saying.
We're not saying they're going to come fourth, man. We just have to praise them a little bit. Like,
no, but understand, you've seen the games that I mentioned, the fixtures that I mentioned coming up. That's when I will say, you know what? If they actually start getting points against some of the bigger teams, some of the teams that I think are actually challenging in the league, then fair. Because defensively, they have looked decent. They haven't actually looked that bad overall. They just have not been scoring the goals. And that has been a problem since last year. So once they start scoring goals on a consistent basis, and I can see them having consistent performances, fair. But a game against Fulham in the league away, good result. You did well. Against Brighton, good job. You got back-to-back wins for the first time since March, but you guys are not consistent.
Yeah, no, I agree with Egal. It's definitely the next few weeks, the next few game weeks, we've got some tough games, man. So these don't need to turn up and prove people like Egal wrong. You know what I'm saying? And then we can have a conversation to say, have Chelsea actually turned the corner? But right now, I think it's a little bit premature, man. I think just game by game, innit? Build a little bit more confidence, build that momentum, build that chemistry, and we keep going.
Blaze here is a Chelsea fan, says Chelsea only beat Fulham convincingly, but mighty Champions League Arsenal couldn't beat 10 men Fulham at home. If you don't believe in 15th place teams can beat you, check Lens.
I honestly think that's disrespectful to Lens. They finished second in the French league last year. I know it was an embarrassing loss from our perspective, but no team in the Champions League is a dead team. Let's not do that.
Man United are. We're a dead team in the Champions League this year, but there we go. This here says Egal is scared of Spurs and Chelsea being back. They'll be back.
Yeah, Chelsea will be back. So I don't know about Spurs, but yeah, I think Dobbins was right earlier on. I think Arsenal fans should be worried in the next few years that their little spell back at the top of the Premier League again will end, because I mean, if you're spending £1 billion, I mean, naturally you would expect them to eventually overtake Arsenal. I don't think that's controversial.
I wouldn't call it a spell. I'll call it a little moment in 1 year that he came second. If they do it this year, I will raise my hand and say we're all wrong. Maybe Arsenal are consistent, but for 20 years, for the last 8 years, Spurs finished ahead of Arsenal. When Spurs are back, doesn't mean Spurs are going to win the league. Spurs back means Spurs are competing for top 4, like under Pochettino. That's what I mean, Spurs back. So maybe Arsenal, yes, they should be worried, because Egal is logic for Chelsea that I need to be consistency. Also, I want to see Arsenal this year as well. Looks like the signs are there, competing for the league, going toe-to-toe with the likes of City and Liverpool. Now we're going to say Arsenal are going to be consistent for them. The project is going for the next 3-4 years. But if Arsenal don't do that this year, we're going to go back to, you competed 1 year and then you fell off.
You know, it's
the same logic.
I think because we started... I think because we started so poorly the season where we finished 5th, that people forget that we have, it's kind of a casual take when you say Arsenal's only been good last season. Because you go back till January from the year before, we were consistent for almost 2 years now. So this whole thing that Arsenal,
we're talking about titles, though. We're talking about
calendar season. Yes, you're factually correct. We've only done it for one calendar season, like football season. But if you look at the years,
you done it for 31 games. You got 31 games.
Now, we've been doing it
games.
consistently.
Just be right. 31 games only. It's 31 games until Saliba got injured, and that's it. From that point on,
I'm talking about
literally 31 games last year, wasn't it? Wasn't it 31 games?
Even Rory could back me up on this. As a
Did Lewis, were you scared at the end of the season, or were you threw out the last 2 games, Lewis, in the end of the season last year, and you lost the last 2 games because you won the league in game week 35? That's the reality, Egal. You competed for 31 games. Fair enough, but
what are you talking about?
Egal
I'm talking about our team.
talking about
our team's overall
2022.
performances. Why are you talking about the league? We know what happened in the league last year. That's irrelevant to your performances throughout the calendar season.
What's a calendar season? It's a season. It's called a season, isn't it? Am I my English? I'm sorry, English is not my first language. Can you just explain that to me?
No, I understood that. He just means a season. I get where Gal's coming from, though. Like for a bit like we used to say for Liverpool. Liverpool turned good. Do you remember that January? The January where they bought Van Dijk. From that point onwards, you saw a different kind of Liverpool. Yes, they went on to win some major trophies. Arsenal still to do that, but for a good couple of years now, Arsenal have been a fairly consistent team in the Premier League at this level. But I do agree with Lewis. I think everybody, probably barring City and Newcastle, in the medium to long term, has to be worried about if and when Chelsea's project works, if they keep spending this money, because they are willing to spend so much more than everybody else. And they'll taper that down a little bit. But if they get this play working, if they start winning more games, if they get back into the Champions League, they're not going anywhere. There's talks of a brand new, huge stadium, which will generate massive amounts of revenue. So, yeah, look, I said about Chelsea, as much as it's great seeing them where they are, I'm not, in my head, I can't just write them off as a team that's never coming back, because I just don't believe that right now. And that's not a dig at Arsenal per se. That's just my club. I think Liverpool, as well, anyone who's not prepared to spend what they're prepared to spend and do it well, they haven't. You can argue they haven't done that yet. That remains to be seen whether this all kind of clicks into gear. But it's hard to judge Chelsea spending because in the short term it looks poor, but they're doing it in a way that no one else has done. So it could still, none of us know whether it's going to work. If it fails, then they'll be laughed at. If it doesn't, there could be some problems. But so in terms of this weekend, anyone see a Burnley win?
I'll back my boy, Vinny. You know what I mean? Yeah, fuck it. You know what I mean?
You can't back your boy Cole, no?
No, look, listen, Cole's decided to, a different project. Listen, Vincent Kompany, he's the one that we're backing. So I don't know, man. I think it's gonna be interesting. Just on a serious note, I think if Chelsea beat Burnley and then they compete with Arsenal, I think then you can start talking about turning corners and that. But yeah, it's probably a little too soon, isn't it, at this point?
I could see a draw. I could see a draw, 1-1 draw, where Chelsea again have a lot of the ball but struggle to score. That's what I'm predicting.
I actually think the other way. I think Burnley are going to have the ball. Burnley play at home. They're going to try to play this progressive football, which looks good in the eye. And at the end, Chelsea are going to do the same. Chelsea were 45% ball position against Fulham, but they were effective. And I think this game suits Chelsea. If teams sit back against Chelsea, Chelsea might not score. Burnley, Vincent Kompany, a man of his word, he's not going to sit back and defend against Chelsea. He's going to try to play that progressive football, which is I like to watch, but it's against Chelsea. I don't think it's going to work. I think Chelsea is going to score 2 or something. And their striker, actually, Burnley, still have a record, straight red, so he's still suspended.
Who is their striker? I don't even know who their striker is.
The guy that scores the goals is suspended. He elbowed somebody. So, yes.
Oh, God. You see, there we go. And they've got Weghorst on loan, so, boy.
Yeah, Anton here says last time Arsenal played Brighton, they lost 3-0 and Fulham 2-2 with 10 men.
Facts, Anton.
This here from Guna Paul says, Terry, awesome panels, always saying they're rubbish, i.e. Chelsea. They won't do well. We will smash and beat them, etc. Is upsetting the football gods. Keep humble is what Guna Paul says here. Spurs are back with Howard Webb's help, is what Michael Ramsey is a Liverpool fan, by the way. Let people know who he supports. Consistent in what, Egal? Talking about Arsenal finishing 8th.
This is the thing. You look at the league position, of course, but going back to when we've seen our turn in form was the January of that last 8th season. and then you go from there onwards. You see the points tally they picked up. It's very similar to the top 3 teams in the league. So yes, we finished 8th and 5th, but our actual points totals from that calendar point till now has been up there with Liverpool.
Mm-hmm. We finished 8th twice in about 25 years as well, so it's objectively not consistent.
Egal, you got dumped out of every cup. You only had one competition, and you still fluffed your lines. Is what Joshua's got to say.
Facts.
What does that have to do with my point?
Don't know,
That's
but
what
it's
happens.
facts. Still facts.
You're nothing, but it's a fact.
It's just a super chat, Egal. It's nothing here. It's just.
No, it's because of
That's
the
why
arrogance,
you
man.
could
He's
get-
woken up the gremlins. He's woken
You
them
could
up.
get knocked out of every cup and still go invincible in the league. Like,
But you didn't.
Yeah.
But you did.
we did when we went invincible. We got knocked
Yeah,
out of every cup.
But he's talking about last year, and you didn't.
Hey, forget it. I said it's still a relevant point.
This is the weird in the super chat. It's a weird one at me. It says, Terry, what is this Newcastle claim you keep making that they don't even spend a lot of money? I'm not going to read the rest, Remy. I'm someone that pushes back against that claim. They have spent a significant amount of money since their owners come in. Not as much as Chelsea. I think I read they're one of the highest net spenders. I don't use net spend, but they're one of the highest spenders. They've spent between 350 and 400 million since the new owners have been in. So I don't know where you're getting this from that I've said Newcastle never spend, but yeah, that's again, Newcastle not a fairy tale story either. Great what they're doing, but it's not a fairy tale story. They won the lottery. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's like, it is what it is. It's not dig, it's the truth. A fairy tale story is what, to a degree, what Leicester did, as an example, not what Newcastle were doing per se. It's a fairy tale for the fans, but they're not going to make a Disney movie about it because it doesn't. How do you sell that Disney movie? Do you know what I mean? Like, don't work. They've already done that film anyway, Cinderella. They've already done it, so it's already been done. Do you know what I'm saying? And Ten Hag, Poch, Eddie Howe over Arteta. You have woke the Gremlins up. The Gremlins are alive.
You pissed him off.
They're coming.
Memphis, explain why.
That's actually not true. Arteta has done a fantastic job. Come on, just
Respect.
Yeah,
man.
no,
respect Arteta. Like, to be honest, transformed the culture. Improved tons of players. Look at the likes of Saka, Martinelli. Come on, let's not take it that far. You know what I mean?
And I think the thing is,
We
like,
start saying Emery's better. We start
I can
talking
get
about.
that. If you're someone that believes in who's won the league titles, like Ten Hag and Poch, outside of the Prem have won league titles, and trophies, you could throw that in. But like Ange's won the Scottish League, I suppose you could throw it in. But like Eddie Howe hasn't won anything. So if you're going to be like actually looking at trophies, you can't say that as of now. But yeah, a little bit much. But I think Egal has triggered a few people on that. Viewers, keep it in the like and the share button. Make sure you're subscribing and you've got the bell notification. I can't even speak. Notification button turned on right now. A hybrid ultra here says we got battered. Bantered for 2 decades for playing fluid football and not doing anything. Now Chelsea fans want a sticker for it. Well done, Don, for fluidity.
Hey, all I'm saying is you man ain't looking like how you were looking last season. Do you get it? Man City are clear of everyone right now. So good luck trying to beat them this season.
By a whole point.
Question though on that, when you say like you're more fluid than Arsenal, you don't think you're better than Arsenal right now, do you, Don?
No, not right now.
Okay.
Not right
I'm
now.
just
As a
I'm
whole,
just checking.
as a
I wanna
whole,
get-
they've got a bigger sample size, but we'll see the conversations at the end of the season anyway.
Mhm.
You still think last year was a blip?
I don't think it was a blip, but you're not looking like what he was last year. You know what I mean? You've gone backwards in signing a guy like Kai Havertz that I was going on about, and you guys said I'm obsessed. I was just speaking facts about him, and now your fan base want him out, and he ain't even been 10 games in. Do you know what I'm saying?
I don't want him out.
Useless excuse of a
Listen, I don't want
footballer.
him out either. People are gonna have concerns, but it is what it is.
It's more than concerns. It's more than concerns. I'll tell you that for free. And if you start him we'll get into the preview later. But if you start him against City, boy,
He's gonna probably start.
Yeah. This super chat here says Terry wrong. Leicester spent 150 million in the season before they won. Adjust that to inflation, and they are also not a fairy tale story by your own logic. Fair enough. I've been educated. If that's the truth, then yeah. I still don't think though they were spending. They weren't. I guarantee if you go back and look that there was over that period of time. If you look at the season before they spent that, the season they spent it, the season after, I guarantee you they weren't in the top 5 or 6 spenders. I'm just going to make that guess.
They also nearly got relegated the season before.
Yeah,
they
season
won the
before,
title, so.
yeah. So Yeah, I don't. For me, that is more a fairy tale story than being taken over by the richest people in the world.
Like, you must be like this super chat must be someone who's Leicester rivals in England. I actually have no idea.
I don't know.
There has to be this has to be someone who really hates.
I look at it this way, right? If Don below next to me starts a business and in 5 years' time is a billionaire, that is a fairy tale business story. Because I just knowing where Don lives, grew up in the same area as me, probably didn't grow up as a millionaire. I'm just going to assume, Don, you didn't grow up as a millionaire.
No, I didn't.
Cool. Well, I assumed correctly. That's a much more fairy tale story than everybody celebrating Kendall Jenner becoming a billionaire. It's well done for your cosmetics business making you a billionaire, but it wasn't like you didn't start with a massive advantage. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, let's not start comparing these things. Cause none aimed for bigger fish and got embarrassed. About your managers. None of those other managers aimed for bigger fish to fry and got embarrassed. That's why they're better. I get it. I get his logic. I think he's wrong, but I get his logic. Speaking of Arsenal, we're going to go into it now. Massive game this weekend. Arsenal hosting Manchester City. Lewis, you're away from home. So we're going to go to you and Nobbins first on this. How are you feeling about the game? 2 defeats in your last 3 matches. No Rodri. Some Arsenal fans getting a little bit excited online. Are there any nerves in the Chelsea camp amongst the fans? Or do you feel pretty confident it's going to be business as usual at the Emirates Stadium?
I don't know about Chelsea fans, bro, but City fans, I think there's a little bit of, I don't know, a bit weird. Because obviously
Chelsea, sorry, City fans. Sorry, my apologies. Slip of the tongue. Sorry, mate.
It's cool, man. It's I think obviously when you're missing John Stones, Kevin De Bruyne, Rodri, 3 key players, there are some nerves, obviously. But listen, I think the pressure's all on Arsenal. I think the pressure's all on Arsenal. I really, really do. You know, I think they're the ones that need to win. I think if they don't beat us, I don't think that particularly looks great for them in their hopes to win the title. They've got a shocking record against us in the Premier League. And yeah, I think it's time for Arsenal to show the world just how good they are. You know what I mean? Everyone knows how good City are. Won the treble last year. You know, they bottled the league last year. They bottled the top 4 before that. We smashed them at our place last year. Humiliated them, actually, at the Etihad Stadium. Humiliation. And if they want to win the league this year, they need to put out a statement. They need to put out a statement to the world on Sunday that they are serious. And I think it's all on them. I think City get in there, take a point. Is what it is. We've got a weak squad. We'll take that. We'll still be above them. It's on Arsenal. The pressure's all on Arsenal.
And Arsenal won't have a better opportunity to there won't be a better opportunity to beat City, to be honest. Lewis has touched it then. There is no Rodri. There's not going to be any Stones. Bernardo Silva's just come back. There's obviously no Kevin De Bruyne. Arsenal are at home. If you are going to beat City in a title race, now is the time to strike while the iron is hot, because City, not in a weak state, but they're in a weakened state. If you look at all the past seasons under Guardiola with title races, 2 Liverpools, the 1 Arsenal, none of those sides beat us in the title race, and that was a main factor in why none of those sides did win it.
Isn't Stones fit? I saw it was this guy training.
Yeah, but he's not playing.
He's trained, but he's not
going to play.
Pep's already confirmed he's not going to be playing. The main one, obviously, is no Rodri. Look at our midfield from last season. None of that box 4 are going to be featuring on Sunday. No Stones, no Gundogan, no De Bruyne, no Rodri. So I appreciate Arsenal have their own injury concerns, which I'm sure Egal and Rory will touch on. But again, Arsenal will not have a better opportunity. And if they can beat City, it's a massive statement for them. Obviously, haven't beaten us in the league in 8 years or something ridiculous. Since like 2015, I believe. Yeah, yep. Exactly. And if a draw wouldn't be terrible for them, but I think a loss for Arsenal would be ridiculously detrimental, because again, it's just sort of, me and Lewis were talking about this on his channel yesterday. I believe Arsenal have a bit of an inferiority complex when it comes to Man City. And if they lose again against Man City, then I think it's obviously really early days. You can never write them off entirely, but I think that would basically just be the nail in the coffin for them in this title race, to be honest, because that would just, in their heads, just further evidence the idea that they probably don't believe in themselves, and they probably don't think they are good enough to take on City if they lose again.
Rory, you want to go?
Yeah, I don't massively buy into the idea that we have to win, otherwise it's like season and title race over. I think last season proved that it's a long season and things can happen. It is a good chance for us to win the game, definitely. Obviously, without Rodri, without De Bruyne. I'm still not convinced that John Stones won't play. I know Pep Guardiola said, "Oh, he's not going to play," but we've seen that story before. And Arsenal do have our own, obviously, concerns. I don't think Saka's going to play, and we don't have Martinelli either, so we haven't got either of our starting wingers. And I actually think the big one that we're missing is Martinelli. I think that raw pace we're going to miss, and I will be interested to see whether we play Thomas Partey. I think our best midfield is Partey, Rice and Ødegaard. If we see that against a weakened City midfield, I think we can win the game. But yeah, I don't buy into the idea that it's the be-all and end-all.
But you got to win at some point, lad. You know what I mean? It's 8 years since you've beaten us. Like, you want to win this league, you got to be like showing that you can win it. You're at home at the Emirates. Do you know what I mean? You've got to take us on. Well, this is the weakest we're going to probably be all season. Surely this is the time for Arsenal put out a statement. Surely this is the time.
Well, hopefully, yeah. But I mean, this is part of the reason I think City have it's one of the reasons I think City have ruined football. This is one of the biggest games of the season, and City fans are going into it like, yeah, maybe we'll get a draw. Don't really care. Doesn't matter. We'll still win the league. Like, there's no.
I say that because you guys haven't done the right thing, not because of us. I say that because you've made the wrong decisions in your transfer. It's not my fault your club signed Kai Havertz for 65 million quid.
It's the same way when how we felt going into the Tottenham game. Basically, because they've been able to beat us so many times. By the way, the record is actually 12 games in a row in the league. We've only scored 5 goals. They scored 33. So I understand why they're confident. I understand why sometimes their confidence can come off as arrogance. I get it. Because you want to know something? City are the team to beat. Even though they have all these injuries, they're still the favorites. They're coming to our house, and people still consider them the favorites. This game is going to come down to one thing for me. Every time we play City, every time we play any team that's up on the top half of the table, the midfield battle is where the game's won. And this game right here, I think we're going to have the advantage in the midfield. Because they have Rodri and Kevin De Bruyne, their 2 best midfielders out, Pep Guardiola is going to have to find a solution, but we're going to have potentially Thomas Partey back, Declan Rice already that we signed for 100 million in that midfield, of course. And I think Martin Ødegaard is going to be the biggest match winner for us on the day, especially with Martinelli and Bukayo Saka both gone.
So are you confident that Arteta is going to play that midfield though?
I hope he does. I don't know what he's going to do. I don't think any Arsenal fan or City fan knows what the lineup is going to be specifically because of the injuries. But if I was to guess, he would go with. I don't think
Arteta's is left in the mid. I can't lie.
Let me land. If I was to guess, I think because we played them in the Community Shield and he went with a similar midfield, he might do that this time. And in that game, he also went with Kai Havertz up top. And because Saka's injured, I think he might do that this time. So the way I'm thinking he's going to set up with the front 3 of Kai Havertz, Jesus on the right, and Trossard, or maybe even Reece Nelson. But I think Trossard is going to start. And the midfield 3, I think, is going to be Partey, Declan Rice, and Martin Ødegaard. And I trust that defense and that midfield. The thing that I don't trust is the attack to score the goals. And you want to know something? That's been the issue all season. So even with Martinelli and Saka gone, this game is going to come down to which midfield can win the game. And if Arsenal get an opportunity, can we be clinical? Because we know City, on the other hand, they have Erling Haaland, who all he needs is a half chance, and especially Julian Alvarez. So, hey, I'm just going to say...
Just on that, Egal, I don't think that's right about the midfield battle, because last season at the Emirates, you won the midfield battle, but Pep didn't care.
You gave us the ball.
So yeah, you won the midfield battle, and partly because Pep wanted you to do that. What did we do? We just played it long to Haaland. So I don't think I agree that it's going to be all about the midfield. It wouldn't surprise me if City play the exact same way. We just long pass up to Haaland, and instead of De Bruyne being the runner, it's Alvarez or it's Foden. So I think that Arsenal have the advantage in the midfield battle, but I don't think that's actually what the story of the game is going to be, to be honest.
But looking back at the Tottenham game and looking back at the Manchester United game, we kind of gave those 2 teams the opportunity to play with the ball and to hold on to it. And we tried to win the ball high up the pitch and force them to make errors. So now you're going to potentially be playing Kovacic and Calvin Phillips. I think that's who we're going to be trying to attack to try to get the ball off.
No, Calvin Phillips
it won't be Phillips,
bro.
You don't think Phillips going to play?
Phillips will not be seeing the light of day at the Emirates. No
okay,
chance.
so who's going to play in the midfield?
Don't know, mate. It might be Kovacic Nunes. It might be Luis Nunes. It might be some of the combination they're in. Bernardo.
Either way, it's not Rodri. And Rodri's the most tidy player on the ball in probably world football. So if we have an opportunity to win the game and to capitalize on your mistakes, it's going to come from Matheus Nunes in the midfield losing the ball, or what do you call it, Kovacic losing the ball. And I'm not saying they're bad footballers. I'm just merely saying that's going to have to be our tactic. We're going to have to press your midfield.
So that's how you think you should play. That's quite risky though. So you're relying on being passive and you're hoping City make mistakes in the midfield. Is that right?
We did that against Tottenham and Manchester United. We gave them a lot of the ball in their own end, and we tried to win the ball. If you look at the actual tactics against Manchester United and Tottenham, we gave them a lot of the ball. We were not the team holding on to it.
It works against United because United have a lot of midfield issues.
Yeah, let me ask a question on that though. Man United were a hair's breadth away from beating you with that tactic, and Spurs drew with you. If you look at performances across both those two games, would you and Roy, would you be happy with that approach to let City have the ball and trying to counter on them? Do you think that is considering how much better they are at attacking compared to Man United and Spurs?
You want to take this, Roy?
I don't think we've got the pace to do that anyway. I don't think we'll play that way at all. I think what we might actually probably see, and just going back to what you said, I didn't particularly like the way we played against Spurs especially. But I think we might see Kai Havertz up top. He played up top in the Community Shield, and I think I've got a feeling we could end up with Jesus off the left, hopefully Saka off the right if he does play, and then Kai Havertz up top, and then we can see the midfield that we talked about as well.
Would you risk Saka?
Would I risk Saka?
Yeah, if he's not 100%, because I'm worried about that.
Yeah, I will be fuming if we don't play him and then he goes and plays for England.
But the thing is, I get why you guys want Saka to play. He's one of your key players, but let's not act like Saka's ever really done anything against Man City anyway. Do you know what I'm saying? Ake locked him up last season, like in two separate competitions. So let's not act like Saka's been this guy that's like turned up against Man City every season, because he really hasn't.
Don, I don't think anyone did do that, but he's turned up more than Reece Nelson or any of our other options have.
Yeah, but Nelson's done well off the bench, though. Even last season, I was saying, why isn't Nelson getting the game time? Eventually, he went and got a contract. I'm someone that when Nelson, Smith Rowe, and Saka were coming through, I didn't really rate Nelson, because Nelson, to me, he used to get barged off the ball. He wasn't as safe with it. He just wasn't looking good. But now he's actually looking really good. Like, he can beat his man. He gives a little bit of a different dynamic, because Saka, he inverts a lot. What Nelson likes to do, he likes to stay wide. Do you know what I mean? And keep the pitch quite open and quite wide. Do you know what I mean? So he could be a different headache for Man City that they've never actually faced against Arsenal. To be honest with you, like Martinelli on the other side is more. He drives at his man a lot more than Saka, in all honesty. And if you start Nelson, I don't see it as, obviously Saka's Saka, right? But Nelson can do a little something, man, because he's been playing well. He's been playing well.
Yeah, but there's a difference between Bukayo Saka, who is tried and tested, and he has played well against City. It's just it's Man City. We don't score many goals against them like no one does. But there's a big difference between Saka and Reece Nelson, who might do a little something, who normally comes on off the bench and plays off the left-hand side. Like, this is our biggest game of the season, probably. So,
and this is Man City at the moment. At this, I went and looked at every single game that Man City played while you guys are talking. This is probably the toughest test for Man City this year, especially without Rodri. The thing about Manchester City, they don't have to win every game, because they win against the Menos most of the time, most of the games, like that Wolves game's one-off. But I think this also is a test for Man City, especially for the new guys, for the Dokus, for the Nunes, for the Kovacic has experience, but also in the new system. Gvardiol is still there. That's his first game at the Emirates. It's a big game for him as well. I think Man City, the players will be nervous as well. I believe that truly. Yes, Pep Guardiola has more experience, but I believe Man City players will be nervous. They would want to impress, because they know Kevin De Bruyne is not there. They know Rodri is not there. They know Stones is not there. That these players are big players with experience. I would pick Arsenal to win the game. I would put my money. I think Arsenal
are would be nervous or more? What City players would be nervous?
It's not Doku will be nervous.
Doku won't play.
Matheus Nunes will be nervous. Gvardiol will be nervous. This notion that players don't get nervous because they play for Man City, we have seen it before. These are not the Gundogans. Kevin De Bruyne isn't there. John Stones isn't there, right? You don't have experience in the on that pitch, apart from the defense, other than Kovacic. And we have seen when they play against.
Oh, there's no experience.
I don't think Foden is experienced enough to calm things down if they go on 1-0 down or something.
But he won't play in the middle.
If Arsenal, But that's the whole point. Bernardo's there. Is it Bernardo's going to start? Bernardo's experience as well, a little bit. But my point is, Man City in tough times, they lean into the experience, like the Gundogans, even the Riyad Mahrez coming off the bench last year. I believe that Man City is the best team in the world, for sure. But this is Arsenal Football Club that has been playing good last year, has been playing good this year. Some games getting only the results. Hold on. Some games only getting the results, and some games actually controlling the games. And you're going to the Emirates. The stadium is going to be buzzing. You're telling me that young players aren't going to be nervous? Let me tell you something.
No. You didn't say young players. You just said Manchester City. I'm saying Kovacic.
No. I actually named players that I think will get nervous.
I told
named
you.
Young players only.
Doku won't play. Foden will be out on the right-hand side. So who else are you talking about?
So I said the names I said, Matthias Nunes, I said Gavardio, I said Doku. These are the 3 players I mentioned. These are young players, aren't they? I didn't say anybody else. And I said there are not enough experience on the pitch. I said there are not enough experience on the pitch to pick them up if they go 1-0 down or something. Man City last year were full of experience and full of composure on the pitch. And credit to them for that. In tough times, these players turned up. The older players, the De Bruynes, the Gundogans, the Mahrezes, even the Bernards, they turned up big time. John Stones. We're forgetting that these players are not there. I get the notion of this Man City is an amazing team and everything.
But Mo,
Arsenal are getting
would you argue that Arsenal this season have actually looked? Yeah. Would you say that Arsenal have actually looked a lot better away from home this season than they have at home? So let me land my point, bro. Because what you're saying about what do you call it? Man City players can be nervous, yeah. I think they've got a different type of mentality to the Arsenal players. I can flip it and say the Arsenal players can be nervous as well because they're missing a lot of players. They're missing quite a lot of.
I could tell you something. The two of the most crucial players for City are Kevin De Bruyne and Rodri. Now I get Saka and Martinelli might potentially be missing.
Bro, they haven't missed KDB this season, bro. They've missed him since Burnley.
Yeah, they haven't because Julian Alvarez has been great. But the moment we've seen Rodri get out of that midfield also, you see 2 of their best midfielders, 2 of their leaders, 2 of the talismans in that team after Erling Haaland and stuff. But let's be honest, those 2 guys don't get spoken about enough. They're going to be a massive miss for this kind of game. We keep talking about Saka potentially missing. We keep talking about Martinelli. We keep talking about mentality. If there's any more mentality monsters than Rodri scoring Champions League final scores, constantly doing it when it needs to be done, Kevin De Bruyne has been the main man in every single Man City win versus Arsenal. I think he scored every single game. And we're not even talking about him not being there as if it's going to make your team weaker. It's crazy to me.
I want to delve into that point a little bit because I saw this stat got shared earlier. I think, Rory, it was you actually that shared it about Haaland this season. So when you look this season at Haaland in terms of the amount of this after 11 matches across all conferences, but he's got 8 goals versus 17 last year, 1 less assist. His XG is down. His goal conversion rate has dropped by 20%. Last year, he converted 14 of 22 big chances. This year, only 6 of 20. And I think that's his scoring frequency is per minute. He was scoring a goal every 54 minutes. Now he's only scoring 1 every 120 minutes. Is this just a player that hasn't quite hit his form yet? Or is this somebody that is struggling because you don't have the same level of creativity in the team? And can Arsenal exploit this?
No. If his overall... if his overall...
Yeah, sure. Let's wrap it up. Close the door. It's a no.
If his overall play was poor and he was playing poor in general and he wasn't getting chances, then I would be concerned. But he's missing chances. Yeah, that's not in doubt. There are some chances that he should have been finishing better. But his overall play is still really good. He still does the job. He's getting double, sometimes triple marked this season, and people wonder why he's not, getting as many chances or scoring as often. Yeah, his finishing has taken a very temporary dip, but he is still the top scorer in the Premier League this season with 8 goals. He is still playing well overall. He is still creating space for the runners, and I actually think that is the attribute which is going to be the most beneficial in the Sunday game. If City play well, it will be fundamentally because Haaland has created the space for midfield players to operate.
I know, but correct me if I'm wrong as well. Didn't Haaland score 2 hat-tricks by that point last season? I think he scored a hat-trick against, was it West Ham? And it was another team.
Forest. Thank you, Lewis.
He scored 2 hat-tricks already, 10 games in last season, yeah.
Yeah, he's only got the one hat trick this
So
season. So
I
yeah.
think this, I
Panic
actually
stations.
saw
Only,
I
you
saw
know.
this stat earlier, and I think one of the things that key words that Terry said is that the quality of the chances. I actually believe that the quality of the chances provided to him this year. You can do the XG and you can say yes, he should have scored that, but I thought the quality of the chances that he used to get last year is
From De
better
Bruyne.
than from De Bruyne, actually from Gundogan as well. I think Mahrez started the season on fire. If I'm not mistaken, did Mahrez start the season very well and then he dropped and then Bernardo came to the right side. I think that the players around him are different. They still have time to get used to him as well, because I've seen him make runs and he's not being played with that runs because it's still there's still new players. But Haaland is kind of a striker now that we need to start asking a little bit of questions. If you have a player on the pitch, and I said that to Nobbins the other day when we were doing preview, if you have a player that is touching the ball 14 times and another player that is touching the ball 140 times, if it doesn't work, you start asking questions. If the team is winning and everything, you lost the last 2 games without Rodri. He didn't score, right? If he doesn't score again and he still touches the ball only 14 times and your team is struggling, I think questions have to be asked. Okay, how are you
I don't
using
agree
him?
because of what I said about what he offers without the ball. He doesn't need to touch.
So you're
Haaland
doing
doesn't
a Nunes thing. So Nunes, Liverpool chaos. He creates chaos.
I don't know
Are
about
we
Nunes,
doing the
but
same thing?
I don't know what the Nunes argument is. Haaland doesn't have to touch the ball in order to influence the play. I just told you that sometimes he's double marked or triple marked. What does that mean? It means a space somewhere else on the pitch to be exploited. So Haaland existing on the pitch is doing his job by virtue of him being a magnet to other players.
But I
and
was
defenders.
being told he's the number 9 that will get the goal. So now the narrative
He's got to go. He's the top scorer in the Premier League. What do you mean?
Yeah,
Get the...
but he can do both. That's the beauty of it. That's the reason why you've got to double or triple mark on him. Because if you don't, he will get the goals. And sometimes if you double mark him, he'll still get the goals. He'll still get a hat trick. So
I think Saliba's got his number. I'm actually not, and this might come back. This might come back to bite me, but I genuinely think Saliba's got his number. I'm more worried about Alvarez, if I'm honest, than Haaland.
Like the way he said it, guys, you know Haaland's brace is coming.
You know something?
The way he said it, bro.
did Saliba play well?
the last game
am I
against
misremembering?
The last game against Wolves, the way that Craig Dawson just followed him around the whole game. Has that happened before? Have you guys seen that consistently for this whole season? Or
Rudiger
Being
happened last
marked?
year.
Yeah, being man marked for the whole game.
He's man marked nearly every single game,
Yeah,
normally
he's
by
man-marked
multiple
all the time.
players.
But most of the strikers are most of the good strikers in the history of football have been man marked. And there are lesser quality strikers. Like I don't want to mention names; people are gonna go crazy. But some really top strikers, they were man marked because I remember Filippo Inzaghi, who is maybe the quality on the ball isn't elite, but his movement is great. Jose Mourinho used to say you have to mark the man 90 minutes because you sleep one moment and he's on goal. So all the strikers used to be man marked. This is not an excuse.
Yeah. Can we go back a second? Rory, when you say you think Saliba's got his number, deep that for me. Like, explain that to I want to understand why and what, if that's okay.
So particularly we saw it first in the first game at the Emirates last season. Obviously, Saliba didn't play at the Etihad, but the first game at the Emirates last season, where at that point Saliba was still pretty fresh to the Premier League, we saw glimpses of Haaland really just not knowing what to do against Saliba. And then at the Community Shield game at Wembley, I think Haaland ended up having 9 touches, and the one opportunity he ended up running kind of at or alongside Saliba with the ball, Saliba caught up with him, and Haaland turned away and went back to played it back the other way. So I feel like Saliba's strength, speed, and reading of the game is a massive issue for Haaland.
So if Saliba can pocket Haaland, whatever term we want to use, does that mean that Gabriel's a massive liability then? Because Haaland was one of our best players at the Emirates, so why wasn't he kept quiet?
No, I don't think Gabriel's a liability. I think we struggled on a number of things. I think Tomiyasu struggled that game. So there were elements either side of Saliba that didn't work perfectly. I actually think, generally speaking, Gabriel is relatively good against Haaland as well in terms of aerial battles. But a defence is more than just one player. And so, of course, if you can work the ball around and avoid Saliba, then it'll work. But I didn't think Haaland scored against Arsenal at the Emirates, but I didn't actually think he had that good of a game, if I remember correctly.
I mean, he was integral to our game plan because we went long. If anything, he was.
I thought he played
most important
fantastic.
Player, yeah.
Yeah, he was one of our best players that day, I thought.
Was
I
it different?
Actually,
It was different.
if I can remember, he was the key actually to bypass the Arsenal press.
He was.
Yep.
He was the
my
one,
point, yeah.
and I remember I did the match reaction, and we saw that Haaland, that first touch, he went Kevin De Bruyne right behind him, that long ball, and he held Saliba behind him.
That was
I thought that was the play of the game.
That was the Etihad, and that was the Etihad, and it was Rob Holding, not Saliba, yeah.
But there were similar movements at the Emirates, I think, is the overall point.
There were similar movements.
If we're not mistaken, at the Emirates, we gave you the ball for the first goal. The second goal, we gave you the ball again. So it was individual errors. It wasn't a situation where Erling Haaland was having a fantastic game.
But it's not just about individual goals and moments. It's about an overall game plan and overall strategy, and Haaland was instrumental to that.
You know what it comes down to? You guys capitalized on the mistakes that we had. We had opportunities against you also. We just didn't capitalize. You had similar chances, I think, in the game at the Emirates, but you guys were much more clinical. And by the end of the game, it was down to our mentality. So this is where I agree with you guys to the mentality thing. We definitely need to show the mentality that we can actually do it before we start sitting here and saying crowning ourselves champions anytime soon. But hey, this is why we play football, because these opportunities come and you have to take them. These players haven't been able to take them the last couple of times we played City. I think, as you guys said, this is the best opportunity for us to do it. And Erling Haaland, without the creativity around him, he gets different types of chances. And the chances that he's getting now with Julian Alvarez and these other guys around him are not as clear cut as before. They're almost some of them are half chances, where before it was being put on a plate in front of the goal and he was just tapping it in.
So here's the problem then. Here's the problem for you, Egal. So you might be right on what you're saying. So then what do? Do you say, okay, we'll just let one man mark him? Do you have two man marking? Because what you're saying is we're not really creating too many chances for Haaland at the moment. So you're just going to leave Haaland one on one?
No, not the same quality of chances. You're still creating chances.
Yeah, okay, same quality of chances though. But if we're not creating quality chances for him, are you just going to leave Haaland one on one?
No. You still have to man mark Haaland. It's just how are you gonna defend as a team is going to be different. Where before you had Kevin De Bruyne, who's another X factor player you got to worry about. You even have Rodri, who's a goal threat from midfield lately. Let's be honest, the team that you're coming with this upcoming Sunday is a lot weaker in the midfield. And you guys, yes, you still score a lot of goals, but it's been coming from Julian Alvarez being the main talisman. And I don't know how it's going to look when he comes to the Emirates. It's going to look a lot different.
Egal, how you're talking right now, it kind of sounds to me like you think Arsenal are the favourites for this game then. So what? You saying
No. I already said they're the favourites. It's just the game is going to be a lot different because of the personnel that are going to be available. It's not the same Haaland performance. Haaland's performances since Kevin De Bruyne has gotten injured, we've seen a lot of chances where he's missed. And he's had a lot of opportunities to score, and he ends up scoring at the end of the game. But let's be honest, he could have scored a hat trick in a bunch of these games. That's what's scary about Man City. They give him so many chances, but sometimes the quality of chances when they have Kevin De Bruyne there is so much better than recent. That's all.
So do you think over 90 minutes? Do you think over 90 minutes you're going to have too much for them then, because they're weakened right now?
Over the 90 minutes, we're going to have to play our best football still, even though it's City. Their defense is still amazing. Don't forget, just because their midfield is not as strong, they still have one of the best defenses. And the system that they changed to at the back end of last season with the fullbacks being a lot more stronger defensively. And also, don't forget, Ake was giving Saka a lot of problems. The way that they've changed the system, the pressing that they were doing was forcing us into errors. We need to cut out our errors. That's the worry that I have. Our individual errors cost us against City. I think if we still play the same way we played last year, but we don't have that Tomiyasu back pass, or we don't have that silly mistake leading to the third goal, we can get something out of this game. I'm not going into this game like Tottenham. I'm not going into this game like Tottenham. I'm not going into this game like I did against Manchester United. I still respect them a lot more because of what they've done to us over the last couple of years in the history. But I believe we can do something this time because of the fortunes that we're facing them when they're quite weak.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Don, asking you as a rival, we'll get on to score predictions later. There's a lot of train of thought that if Arsenal don't win this game, that's it, title race over.
Yeah.
What if they do? Because if they do, it would be almost as good a start as last campaign. And City would actually be, I think, 1 or 2 points worse off than they were this time last year. And a lot of people said that Arsenal would never be 8, 9, 10 games in the same position they were last season. What do you think a win could do for Arsenal's confidence and their potential title push this season?
I think I think like what Nobbins was saying in terms of the belief factor, that's the main thing for me. It will definitely give them that belief that they need to kick on, because when you're up against Man City, Liverpool learn you need to beat them and you need to get at least a draw in order to win the league, right? You can't go up against Man City and lose to them, not even once, right? Because it's so tight when it gets to the end of the season. And I think it will actually build that little bit of a platform for Arsenal. Obviously, they've got a couple players coming back. If Arteta decides to revert back to basics, I think they'll look a lot better in the coming games. If they drop Havertz, for example, and they play the midfield that they want to see, I think it will help them kick on a little bit more. Because again, I'm still not convinced with Arsenal this season from the performances that I've seen from them. But I think it will definitely give them that belief, because it is a bit of a mental block that they haven't beaten Man City since 2015 in the league. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's more important for them to win than Man City. I think Man City will still do more than them over the season, even if they lost that game. But I think for Arsenal, it might change that shift in mentality. That's the main thing for me. It's the mentality shift. I think they'll be after.
Yeah,
I hear that.
Rory, earlier you said that you think this game is not going to end the title race, but I think this game, us winning it, could be the thing that catapults us on to going on and believing that we can do it. Because for this whole time, City have been our bogey team is disrespectful. City have been our nightmare for the last years.
Egal, yeah. Just to add to that as well, because you know how Man City had a bit of a catalyst when they had all the charges and that came out last year. That drove them on, right? This could be Arteta's catalyst, right? If he, for example, doesn't start Havertz in that midfield, he starts the midfield that you want to see, and let's say you boss Man City, right? Even what was it 2 seasons ago when you lot nearly beat them and Rodri scored that goal last minute? You played very good at the Emirates that game. I still remember that game, right? So this could be a catalyst to something if he plays his cards correctly.
You know, the funny thing is, a year ago or 2 years ago, we would have not even spoke about the game. We would have just spoke about Arteta and Pep and said Arteta's going to get schooled by Pep. Now you guys are respecting him as a manager too. The way that we're analyzing this game, because he hasn't been brought up until now. That's the reality. The fact that he hasn't been brought up until now shows you guys he's earned a lot of people's respect on this panel. Yeah. Where previously panels would have just started the game analyzation by Pep, Arteta. It's not even a conversation. Now I kind of
Pep definitely respects him, because even when you came up against them in the FA Cup, right, when they beat you at the Emirates, Pep gave you the ball. He let you have the ball. Do you know what I mean? And then he counted you. That's how he ended up beating you. So it shows that he respected how you guys were playing last season. But the main thing for me right now is that you guys, like I said earlier, you're not looking as fluid as what you were looking last season. And what you've said about your attacking options right now, you're not as confident as what you usually would be. Do you know what I mean? And in that midfield, I don't think it's going to be a clear, we're going to win that battle, because I think Cover and Nunes, when it comes to pressing them, very hard to get the ball off of them. In transition, it will be a bit easier to beat past that press, I'll be real, only because Rodri is the better destroyer out of those two. But I looked at the numbers.
Rodri gives up the ball like 7% of the time. Nunes and Kovacic both give it up more than 10% of the time.
Yeah, so there we go then. So there's a little bit of a weakness there. So I think on the transition, you can get at them. You know, you can.
I think there's only one thing we can look at here. City lost both games that Rodri. Isn't that a fact?
It is.
And they won all the other games.
Lewis didn't like that.
No, I didn't like that more.
I've always said this.
Lewis, I know, Lewis, you love facts.
No, I don't like facts.
And how was the Champions League game midweek? You guys was the Champions League game tough for you guys? I didn't watch it.
Is it a concern?
Rodri was playing,
Lewis?
and he was the glue.
Yeah, to not have Rodri, do you think that gives Arsenal a significant advantage, especially if they've got Rice and Partey fit?
I wouldn't say significant advantage. No, I don't think. I just think it makes us slightly weaker. I don't think we can start talking about it gives Arsenal an advantage. I think it makes City weaker. I don't think it gives them an advantage, though, especially not a significant advantage. You know, so Kovacic is a fantastic football player, very experienced, been around the game a long time. He knows exactly what he's doing, you know. And whoever he plays next to, it could be Bernardo Silva. You know what I mean? Bernardo Silva and Kovacic, that's not a bad midfield too, by the way. Do you know what I mean?
That pivot, I'm sorry, tactically, that pivot, if Arsenal play the right midfield, they will be all over you, man. I've been watching Kovacic for years, bro. And in that first phase, as press resistant as he is, he's not great in that first phase, I'll be honest.
Well, what do you mean? What situations do you think that might be a bad situation?
What, Silva and Cover?
At what point, where
defensively, I think you can get at them. They're defensively, they're not a Rodri level. They're not a destroyer. Who
wins the ball in that midfield for you?
Yeah, you haven't got any ball winners there. Cover's not a ball winner, and neither is Silva. So as much as you can build from the back offensively, when it comes to in transition, if they play the right personnel in that midfield. And when I say if, I'm talking about taking Kai Havertz out and putting a Rice in at 8, putting Partey in at 6, playing Odegaard. Hey, it can get long in that hole, man. I'll be honest with you.
No, I don't think that's how City will. If City do go with Kovacic and Bernardo, I don't think we'll be trying to destroy it and win the battle. I think we'll fall back into a very tight system and say to Arsenal, break us down. And I think that's how we'll do it.
You think you're not going to try and play how you tend to play with those two then?
Well, I don't know, because them two have never played in that position together before. But what I'm saying is, I think if them two do play in the middle, I don't think we'll be running around trying to press Arsenal like mad and try to win the ball back. Nobbins, correct me if I'm wrong. I think if we did play them two, I think if we lost the ball in our own sort of area, I think we just drop back into a pretty solid shape and say to Arsenal, break us down, because that's where I think Arsenal have looked weakest this year, in breaking teams down. I think we just fall back into a thing and wait for them to misplace a pass. And then once you've got the ball with them two in the middle, happy days, move up the pitch.
Yeah. I think on the ball, it's not a concern having those two on the ball. But off the ball, as an Arsenal fan, I'll be rubbing my hands if he plays the right guys in that midfield. I'll be real.
Well, if it's that much of a concern, then you play Nunes, because Nunes is probably a bit of a better.
I would say him. I would say play him. Don't play Silva in that. Yeah, don't play Silva in that pivot of cover. It won't.
But the thing is, Bernardo Silva in the middle often has some world-class performances in big games. In the middle of the pack. I mean, I remember when we went to Anfield a couple of years ago and he absolutely ran the show. I think we beat him like 4-1 or something.
Was he playing as the deepest man? Was he playing as the deepest man though, Lewis?
Not the deepest man, but he was pivoting, from the midfield going forward, and he'd help out.
Gondo, right? Was Gondo playing
Lewis,
that game?
What's your midfield three and your front three? Because I kind of know your defense.
My midfield, well, you're going to get a different answer from every City fan. My midfield three would be Kovacic, Bernardo, Alvarez, and then my front three would be Foden, Haaland, Grealish. That's
very attacking, don't you think?
No, because you're thinking I'm playing Bernardo as like an attacking player. I'm not. I'm having him right next to Kovacic, which he's done plenty of times before with other players. And then Alvarez.
Can you acknowledge that off the ball that's weak? That's quite a weak midfield.
It depends. No, because it depends what you mean by off the ball. If you're talking about you're running around putting tackles in, I'm not saying that. I mean, I'm saying.
But that's part of the game, though. You're not going to have the. You've literally just said, right? Wait, let me let my point, bro. You've literally just said, right? If you play those two, you're probably going to let Arsenal have the ball. Is what you literally just said, right? Yeah. So if you're letting Arsenal have the ball, that means that defensively they're going to have to get into a shape and actually protect that back four, right? Because if you don't, and you've got Odegaard in that hole, we know that's his main. Do you know what I'm saying? If when that cut gets cut back to Odegaard, it's going in. Do you get it? He knows how to bury it from outside the box. So what I'm saying is, off the ball, those two for me would not be the right combination, because on that transition and when you haven't got the ball, Arsenal can definitely be dangerous in those areas as long as they don't start Kai Havertz, because he's basically a hologram on the pitch. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm being real. It's true though. It's true though, Terry. It's true.
You say all that until, but none of this matters if Kai Havertz plays.
No, because it's true though. If you play Kai Havertz in there, you're just making it easier for Man City. If they play someone else in there, even a Smith Rowe would give them a little bit of trouble.
Probably play Kai Havertz up top. Let's not.
Oh, then it's long.
You all know this is going to be a game that Kai Havertz gets a winner in, right?
That would be I hope so.
88th minute header from a corner or something like that. I want to go to some of these super chats here. There's been a lot of them. This one here says, I'm a bit behind, but Mo asks who Leicester City's rivals are. Nottingham Forest are their biggest rivals with Derby and Coventry. Yeah, all teams in the Midland. By the way, I did some research. In the 5 years, plus the season they won the league, so all 6 years together, Leicester spent 98 million in totality over that time. So I don't know where the man got 150 million the year before from. That
22 million the year before.
Yeah. And the guy's actually super chatted himself and actually not apologized, but said actually it was 194 million in the 10 years leading up to winning it. So yeah, spending 19 million a year on average is definitely a fairy tale story to win the Premier League in 2016. 100%.
My point, just spent 50 million.
Weren't they also 5,000 to 1 or something? So
yeah, even if you use inflation, that's still not a lot of money. Guys, I think I might have called him Hoyland earlier. I meant Haaland. Sorry, my dyslexic brain messes me up sometimes. Sorry. Give Haaland a rest. He achieved what he needed to last year, treble winner and breaking records. So this season, let him take time to get his rhythm back. He helps others to find space and score. And he's still the top goal scorer in English football, which is crazy. Arteta needs to show Saliba tapes of Ballon Dawson. I like that. This one's a bit of an attack, really. It says Rory is a clown. City destroying football is a bloody excuse for the incompetence of Arsenal's board. We need fans more like Curtis Shaw, who've got standards, unlike Rory, got standards of a toilet.
Yeah, well, go and watch Curtis Shaw then.
SG, you don't have to leave the terrace, so you can continue watching our shows. Listen. I don't think he meant it in terms of my club doesn't have to win because City. He meant it from a sense of then City fans pretending that they're not even bothered. That's like what I heard. But maybe
that's exactly how I meant it. I didn't mean it as a we should just give up because City have ruined it. Not at all.
No, bro, Rory, don't worry. High Standards FC don't want to be in the Champions League, anyways.
Genuinely, if we can't get past this mental block and believe we can beat City in the league, I think this will always keep us back from winning it all.
Facts. I agree with that.
Is that about Arsenal winning it all? What
I think he's just on about like winning it, like winning the Prem.
Yeah, not winning it all in one season, just winning it all in general. I think is because remember Arsenal still. This is not a dig. Unlike the rest of us, including you at Inter, Arsenal haven't won it all yet. Like they've won a lot, but they're still missing a few things from their trophy cabinet. I think the opposite of Mo is true. The new guys would want to prove Pep that they are the real deal, so they won't be nervous. Is what ND says.
Probably that both can be right. You can want to prove everybody wrong, but that's actually another reason to be a little bit nervous because you want to perform. You're not like relaxed. You're not like playing your game. You want to prove that I can play in the big game. Both of them can be true. Actually, both things can be true.
If you want to catch Man City off guard, yeah, in this position that they're in with the personnel that they've got right now, you've got to score first and quickly as well.
Yeah,
And there's also a difference between being nervous and allowing those nerves to influence your performance as well, to be fair. Like, Doku might be nervous, he might be terrified, but who knows? Maybe he doesn't allow the nerves to get the better
nerves
of him.
Nerves are good. Nerves are absolutely good. I think in any walk of life, if you're not nervous, this is why people say, don't get nervous, don't get scared. You're a liar. Again, you read the books, watch the videos, watch the documentaries on all the greatest athletes. They have nerves. The nerves show you care. If you're not nervous about something, you ain't performing well. Everyone.
Haaland literally said it. He said it in the video I watched earlier. He said he was nervous before the game against Liverpool, and then when they beat them, that's when he started to believe that we're gonna win this league.
I mean, there's always nerves. It won't be every moment, but big games definitely. And look, I'm someone very fortunate to have competed for my country as a fighter, and the sport I did is more scary, in my opinion. Maybe Formula One and motorbike racing, but none of the other sports you're getting punched and kicked in the head, and you're nervous all the time. But it's not because you're scared. It's because you care and you want to win. Just some people can't handle it and some people can. This here says Alvarez plays off Haaland. He does. He's very good, Alvarez. That goal the other night was ridiculous. I feel the issue is for us. This is the biggest game of the season for us and for City. It's just another game. Far too much pressure on us. Yeah, but I will say this. I don't believe the City fans that there's no pressure. There's no expectation. That's just City fans. I'm going to say this and I'll see if there's any movement in their faces. City fans are just amazing at playing it cool, even during tough times. But that's also a reason why their team's so successful, because they don't allow their negativity to spill over into the dressing room or their fear or anxiety.
No, let me answer this from my point of view. This is our biggest game of the season. It's not our toughest game of the season. That's Anfield away always. But it's our biggest game of the season in terms of title challenges. The reason why, I'm just kind of chilled to get a point is because Arsenal haven't proved to anybody that they can go on and win the league. You know what I mean? They've not proven it to anyone. So, if Arsenal beat us or if Arsenal draw, yeah, I'm obviously going to be gutted. I'll be disappointed in that. But, they still have to go on and perform in the other 30 matches. And last year they bottled the league. The year before that, they bottled the top four. You know what I mean? It's up to them. It's up to them as a football club to prove to us, not me as a City fan, to everyone on this panel, everyone watching football, that they can go on and do it. And then once they go and win the league and win the first league, then the perception will change. So if they go on and win the league this year, then next year, obviously, I'll have a different view when we're playing Arsenal, you know? It's up to them to change the view of the game, not my own opinion.
So we have to win it before you get the respect. I get that, but at the same time, you can see the gradual improvements in the team. You can see that we're now trying to be much more controlling in games and not so gung ho in the sense where we're not trying to score 5 goals and bury the game and make mistakes in the back. We're trying to just get our 2-0 lead and control the game for the rest of the way. I think that's much more sustainable for the rest of the season. And I think the reason why people think we're not the same team or they belittle what we've done, you used to hit it yourself, bottling 4th, bottling the league. Do you not see the improvements from going for battling for top 4 to battling for the league? You're just wording it a different way.
No, I think Lewis, I'm speaking for him now, probably gets that. What he's saying is, even if you beat them, he's not convinced you'll win the league, so it's not the end of the world. Where I think if they're playing Liverpool tomorrow and they lost away from home, I get what he's saying. But
that's absolutely correct, Terry. That's absolutely correct. Until you go and actually win the silverware, like you'll never be like properly taken seriously, because you've not actually gone on and won it. And that's
no, but I hear that, and I see it from the way people analyze games and everything. We lose a game, we're overrated. Liverpool now have just started just as well as us, but people are saying, oh, they're back, they can contend. Whereas Arsenal, people are still belittling us. So until we win it, we're going to continue to get this criticism.
But it's not done out of Egal. It's not done out of like mockery or like trying to like
maybe not from you. Maybe not from you, but from a lot of people it is.
I think from a lot of people, it's the same reason why people are saying Liverpool are back. It's because people believe, because Liverpool have won the Champions League recently and the Premier League, people believe that Liverpool, if they can get it going, will go on and mount a serious title. Everyone just thinks if Arsenal get up to the league, they'll probably bottle it again. That's what you've done in the last 2 years. And
Liverpool, everyone thought they were going to bottle it every year until they won it. So...
Yeah, but now they have won it. Now they have won it, though.
And now they don't think that.
Listen,
exactly.
I'm not disputing his point. I'm just merely saying he's coming from a place of logic, where most people come from a place of banter and they're not genuinely serious when they see these things.
I hear you.
Don't you think it's a reaction for the Arsenal fans overrating themselves and the way they...
Mo, you said we're overrated after 1 loss, so you're reactionary yourself.
Yeah, so the whole of the fan base said they're overrated themselves. Yes, of course I am.
Moagenda's getting called out here.
But I think that's the reason why, because you're not. I think Arsenal fans are not humble enough. Like you do not realize that it's so hard. Like Man City fans last year in the Champions League, with everybody calling them and telling them you're favorites. Still, I saw the way they talk about the Champions League and how hard it is to win it, and how hard is it to go to that last step to win it. But Arsenal fans, sometimes you just don't realize that it's really tough to go to the last step and win the race at the end. It's not easy.
Yeah,
especially against Man City and Pep Guardiola.
This is quite true from Manny, though. He says, I can see it now, Terry. Arsenal beat City somehow. Arsenal haters will say, we only won because they didn't have Rodri, De Bruyne, blah, blah, blah. And look, but that's, again, you are going to get that from certain people. You'll get that from certain Arsenal fans as well. Certain Arsenal fans who today wanted Arteta to reveal exactly the part of the body that was hurt on Bukayo Saka, so City could potentially target it if he started at the weekend. There are some very strange people out there. Egal, if you don't win the league, Arteta out? As a question to you.
Simple answer, no.
What if you don't even compete for the league title?
That's different context.
So, which is why I asked the question.
It's a question.
If we're not remotely close to what we were last season, which is competing for the league and not pushing on to compete on all fronts, that's a different conversation. We can have that conversation. But at this moment in time,
if that happened, would you want him out? That's the question.
That's the conversation.
I would need to see regression or a flat line before I say
that would be a regression, wouldn't it? If you didn't compete for the title or any other trophies, that'd be worse than last year. That is
if we're still
the definition of progression.
Yeah, I get that. So yeah. But I wouldn't it's not just black and white. You want him out or not. I would need to see what happens.
Okay. Egal, we can't go gun-ho. Sorry, I couldn't read that for a second. And kill off teams 5-0, etc. With a hologram like Havertz anywhere near that attacking area or midfield. I'm with Don, is what Gunnar Paul says here. Rory has a level head. I'm not walking around with a B and not walking around with a B in his bonnet, looking like a face that has sucked on a sour lemon, like certain fans. I think you might be talking about Lee Gunner. I think it might be Lee Gunner who's talking about. Yeah, big up Lee. No one talking about Trossard. He loves playing against City. He's got a good record against City. I know he's got about 3 or 4 goals against them.
Yeah, I said I want him in the team.
He always played well when he was at Brighton as well. Yeah, I like the idea of like Trossard Havertz, Jesus as a front three if Saka's not available. I think that'd be quite good.
Yeah, that's my
Jesus actually
front
playing on the wing, which I think is his best position.
Hybrid Ultra here says Partey, Rice, Odegaard, and then Jesus. Jesus in the 9. I'm confused here.
He's saying Jesus number 9, left wing.
Jesus number 9. Right, left wing, Kai up top. Sorry, there we go. This is what we need to win. Give us the option to go long against City's press. In my opinion, this is what Mikel Arteta will do, and I agree with him. Be unpredictable in all phases. Interesting shout. Martin here says City have lost to Arsenal in their league 87 times, more than they have lost to any other team. Time for 88.
That's a mad thing to throw out when you've not beaten us since 2015 in the league. That just saying, like,
it's also I'm not having a dig here at City, so please don't take that. But I don't think you can take stats pre Sheikh Mansour seriously anymore because it's completely this City and
that benefits me. So yeah, I'm fucking going with that, bro.
No, it's true. It's true though. You can't look at it. Do you know what I mean? It's a different world. It really is a different, like I say to people, like if you're not a very tough person, you live in I used to live on the estate, right? And there's a kid that I hung around with. He weren't very tough. His name was Gary. And he'd always kind of get a bit rude to the little kids. I remember saying to him, you ain't that tough, Gaz. And he's like, right. And then those little kids will eventually be 18, 19, 20. They're going to mash you up. I remember he's been mugged 3 times. He still lives in the same area. He gets mugged by the kids on the estate because he was horrible to them as a kid. Sometimes relax a bit. Hi, TFT panel. Can you give a shout out to my nan? 16 days off crack. So happy for her.
Shout out. Keep going.
Shout out, Granny. I mean, I'm interested to know what crack it is she has given up. Is it the drug type or what? Like, let me know.
Sorry, I don't think you've deeped the name. What he's called.
I'm just not going to say it.
Don't say it. You just yeah. Yes,
yeah, I'm just saying here, like, I mean, whatever it is, whatever kind of crack it is, good luck to her, either in getting off of drugs or a celibacy. Well done, you. And anyone that thinks I've been done, I realize that is not a real thing. Anyway, sorry, we've done that super chat. During Wenger's days, without the debt and stadium and owners like City, I believe Arsenal would have been able to keep purchase all their players. That is from Sharada. Yeah, you're right. That would have happened if you didn't have all that debt. You're right. If Arsenal don't beat the treble winners, they should be dissipate. What's that say?
Disappointed.
I meant to be disappointed. I thought it might have been a word I couldn't read. My dumb brain kicking in again. Come on now. No one should expect to beat a Pep team. No.
They're half right and half wrong. So I think you can at least hope and expect to beat a Pep team, but equally, it can't. Yeah, if you do lose to the treble winners, it's not sack the board, sack the manager, and give up on the project. I think there's kind of a middle ground.
As a fan base, until we win, as Lewis said, we're going to continuously have people who are very reactionary and going crazy, though.
Yeah,
so.
I hear you on that. What will be your excuse for rubbish Arsenal, Terry, after City discipline them and AFTV on Sunday? I mean, it depends what happens. I may have an excuse. I may say they were really poor. I assess every team fairly. So, yeah, I don't have a prescripted idea of what I would say. Terry, how scary are Arsenal? Definitely scarier than Wolves. That's to be sure. And, yeah, listen, as a Man United fan, my perception of scary is different from a City fan. It's different from a Liverpool fan. It's different from a Real Madrid fan because of your own current standing and predicament. And like I said before, I don't find City or Liverpool or Arsenal scary like I'm a grown man hiding under my bed sheets. I just mean it's scary from the perspective that they are better than my club and they're definitely going to finish in front of us and they're more likely to beat us when we play them. And that is a scary thought as a football fan. So, yeah, I stand by what I've said for the last couple of years. And by the way, they win this weekend, Arsenal, across all competitions, is the better start to the season than last year. So as much as the football may not look as good, I still don't get from the outside looking in the banter. It makes no sense. It's honestly weird. Big up the panel. Been watching for 6 years. Need to come on and school some of you emotional United fans. Big up for watching for 6 years. I appreciate that, bro. This show's been going a long time now, and so is the channel. Always welcome onto our match reactions when we share those links, bro. French farmers beat Arsenal. City will dominate is what Blue Viper says here. I have a feeling Arsenal will draw against City. On that, boys, score predictions for the game. What you going with, Egal?
It's tough. But I'm backing my boys. I think we're gonna narrow victory 2-1.
Rory?
I also think 2-1 to Arsenal.
Moagenda.
I think Arsenal score first, and it's going to be 2-1 as well to Arsenal.
I don't
Don?
like this.
I'm saying 2-1 City.
Woo!
Why
Lou.
you don't believe that?
I'm going to go 1-0 City, Haaland.
Haaland. Nobbins.
1-1. It'll be a very tight game. I think both teams will neutralise each other. I think that maybe both teams will be more scared of losing than wanting to go for the win.
We see the comments. A lot of comments are saying 3-0 City, 4-1 City, 4-0.
It's not gonna be a battle.
I think it'll be tight.
Listen, I'm just gonna say something. If that happens, we just shut it down. I'm serious. Shut it down. Shut it down. It's done. It's over. Like if City without De Bruyne and without Stones, like it cannot. This shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen unless Arsenal are really terrible.
It's
they
going to
aren't
be a very
that
tight
bad.
game. No way it's going to
Yeah,
be 5-0.
I think we'll be tight.
That's mad.
I think we'll be tight. Yeah.
The amount of people saying that City will win.
One thing I trust in.
It's ridiculous.
One thing I trust in is rivals to always hate on Arsenal and say irrational scorelines. Fair enough.
Yeah. The few other games going on this weekend. How will United get on against Brentford?
Lose again?
Lose.
Yeah, United will win 2-0. Half of the fan base will say we're back. Martial is going to come off the bench. Couple of passes with Marcus Rashford, and they're going to say we're back. We found everything, and here we go again. International break. I've seen this movie many times. Half the Brentford are absolutely awful, right? Like they have been absolutely terrible. They haven't won a game in the last 5. They haven't won a game in the last.
This is my fear. We should win, even though we've been bad. They're awful at the minute. But that's why we're going to lose, because we should win.
Oh no!
I don't think they're that bad. I think it's a bit deceptive. Defensively, they've been very good. They just can't score goals. Like that, Johan Visser is just no replacement for Tony. I could see it going the same way as the Palace game. They'll sit in, defend well, which they can do. United are struggling to score goals, and then Mbuemo on the counter, the dagger.
The smart thing from Ten Hag is actually not to press them high. Listen, Manchester United in a phase now. Just freaking get results. Like I was wrong when I told Tyler play. I was wrong. Just get results.
Is it
you cannot go September being 12th or 13th or 14th. It shouldn't happen.
If you exclude the League Cup game, have you lost 6 games in a row where you conceded 3 goals?
I don't know. I've ignored everything Man United based result.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if you guys gave Brentford.
No, it can't be, because we beat Burnley, so we can't have lost 6 on the both on the bounce 3-0 in the Premier League. Well, yeah, we look at all comps. So we lost 3-2, 1-0, 4-3, 3-1, 3-1. And then we beat Forest 3-2. So we haven't lost any game by 3. We've conceded a lot of goals, but 2 of the defeats have been by 1 goal. No one's beat us by 3 clear goals all season. That hasn't happened.
Does Ten Hag have to get sacked though, bro? If United win, at what point do we go sit a bit?
Do you know what it is? Look, Man United fans have been getting on me all week because I've said that he's staring down the barrel of being sacked. They take that as me wanting him sacked, and it isn't. I want him to turn this around, and I want him to be successful. But you can't keep losing like this at Man United. And if it looks like that dressing room's going, there's no hope. The problem that I have, Lewis, is that there's a lot of Man United fans out there that are silly. They're silly billies because they think sacking the manager is going to fix this in the medium to long term. And Mo said something earlier about, I've seen that movie before. And I liken it to this. There's one film that every time I watch it, I pray for a different outcome. Every time, and I've watched it hundreds of times in my favorite films, but every time I watch Rocky 4, I pray Apollo Creed don't die. Every time, even though I know it does, every time I hope and pray something different happens. Now that's weird. Maybe some of you guys did with certain films, shows, I don't know. But I watched that film and go, please throw the towel in, or please don't fight whatever his name is. I forget his name now. What was his name? Dolph Lundgren's character. Ivan Drago. That's how I feel about Man United. It's like we can sack the manager, But I'm not going to buzz even if I want him out, I'm not going to be buzzing when we sack him. Because anyone that thinks it's going to go any different direction until they start running us better as a club, I keep seeing the praise Newcastle get. Oh, Eddie Howe, it's been amazing. But don't take it away from what that club as an ownership have done. Pep could not have got Man City pre-Sheikh Mansour to where they are now. It would have been impossible. Absolutely, fundamentally impossible. You have to be well run and backed in the right way. So I get him going, and I understand why people would call for it. That isn't even my issue. It's people that think we're going to suddenly become a brilliant team in the medium to long term without him.
So, Terry, do you think then, genuine question, do you almost think that United are, to a point, finished until they get a new ownership model?
Bro, even last year when we won the League Cup, people can go back and watch the match reaction if you've got the spare time to. I was happy, said we've improved. I still said every time that as much as Ten Hag might make us better, without the Glazers going, we're never going to get back to where I want us to be. It's never. I've said this all along. I've never yielded from that. Even when because good things have happened under the Glazers. There's no doubt about it. But even in the last 10 years, good cup runs, good wins, good winning streaks. But my opinion has always remained the same. Until we get better owners, we are never going to get back to a place where we should be, based on the money we spend. By the way, we were spending the same money as a Brentford. I'd be happy with where we are, but we don't. We spend what all the big teams in Europe spend. Therefore, I expect us to be competing and being at the same consistency levels as the majority of them. And 10 years of us being run by these guys, not owned by them, but run by them, is enough body of work to know that I don't believe just sacking managers or just selling Rashford or Bruno is going to help us. And we can prove that because people said getting rid of the virus Pogba would help some United fans. Some said that when we got rid of De Gea and Maguire out this team, we'd suddenly become a better side. You can always find these examples. So yeah, I get it. People will take it as I'm defending the manager. It's nothing to do with the manager because I do care about him, but I care more about my football club. That comes first for me. And sacking him is just a rinse and repeat operation that will see us in the same position in 18 months with these scumbag owners. It's as simple as that.
You know, I had an interesting take on this. Ten Hag, how much of his time at Ajax can you credit to the setup at Ajax and how much the recruitment and everything else is also so good that they can bring in the players for him, identify the type of players that they need, and they have a system and style. The fact that he's coming to Manchester United, where he almost has to have a hands-on approach in the transfer window, could actually negatively hinder his ability to manage.
But this is it, bro. It's, again, you do contribute some of that down to Ajax, the same as Pep is a great manager, but the clubs that he has been successful at the time he was at them, are impeccably well run. Since Arsenal's running of the club has improved, so has the performances on the football pitch. Brighton, they're punching so far above their weight. When Leicester were being run impeccably well, look what they were achieving. When clubs are run well, when they have a good board, good directors of football, or whatever their position is called, coupled with a good manager, with a great culture, pound for pound, any team that does that is successful. There is not a well-run team in Europe that spends huge money that doesn't have success to some level. They don't exist. There's equally no shit-run club that spends money that's consistent. It's really, for me, it isn't a deep thing to even get into. Of course, part of Ten Hag's success is the way Ajax were run. Look what's going on there now. Mark Overmars has gone for the right reasons. Van der Sar had to go, is moved out because of the ill health, nearly dying, and their manager's gone. Now look at them. You remove but the thing with Ajax, they can fix it quickly because it hasn't been broken for a decade. You suddenly get the right director of football, the right manager, they can get back to the top of their league inside a year. Look how quickly Barca have bounced back after 18 months of problems because you didn't leave it too long. But once you've had a decade or two of absolute shit, it takes years to fix it, and it
Terry,
always will.
I agree with you. Like the overarching point about the Glazers, I'm with you on that 100%. But take it back to this weekend. What would you do, right, in terms of personnel, tactics, in order to get those 3 points? Old Trafford, you had a very good home record last year. Yeah. Obviously, that's changed now this season. It's not been great. What would you do this weekend to win?
Yeah. By the way, someone here says PSG trying to prove me wrong. No, PSG have a monopoly financially in their league. But when it comes to what have they done in Europe? They got to one final. Yep. But they've actually been unsuccessful considering no one else. There was 6 other clubs in League R that could spend the same as PSG. They wouldn't have won. They wouldn't have had the domestic dominance that they've had with the way they run. Simple as that for me. In terms of this weekend, you drop Rashford, I'd drop Bruno as an example. I'd move Amrabat into the middle, and I would put Delo at left back and put Victor Lindelof out on the right back area. Move Amrabat into the middle, put Mount slightly further forward, who's been pretty good for us. Garnacho. Actually, I wouldn't put Garnacho out on the left. I'd actually put Martial out on the left. I'd bring Anthony back into the team. Højlund's look pretty decent. I'd keep him in the side. And I would make the team sit 10 yards deeper in terms of the way we attack and the way we move. And I would be demanding that people run a bit harder. That's one of the biggest issues we have. I was watching Newcastle the other night against PSG. Every time they lost the ball, they busted a gut to get back into shape. City, the most impressive thing about all of Pep's teams, it isn't the way they pass the ball for me. It's how quickly they get back into shape when they lose possession. It's more important than how they move the ball because they'd concede more goals if they weren't doing that. So that's the personnel I would change. I'd sit slightly deeper. I think we are trying to be more expansive. We're pushing too far forward. And right now we're not ready for it. So we have to make those very slight tactical adjustments. Then I think we'd feel less vulnerable when getting attacked. We'd be more relaxed. And I think we could score some goals and win these games. A lot of the games that we've lost, we've been the better team in for phases. We haven't taken our chances and then we've been absolutely fucking punished. And that's the changes I would make. And I think the manager can still turn this round if he makes those changes. If you remain stubborn and we keep doing the same thing, it's only going to end up with him being sacked, 100%.
Do you have a fit left back? What's the situation with that? Sorry.
No, all the left backs are out injured, so we've got to play probably Delo or Amrabat there. So Shaw's out. He's back in training, but Shaw's out, Malassi is out, and now Reguilon's out as well. So we've got no left backs at the club.
So Terry, I've got a question for you then. Are we in a worse position to Man United? Are Chelsea in a worse position to Man United right now?
Where are you in the league? Where are we?
No. Just answer the question, bro. Don't deflect asking me where we are on the table. Are Man United in a worse position to Chelsea right now? Yes or no?
If we look at it now, right now, you'd say, well, you've won your last 2 games, we haven't. So you could argue that Chelsea are, as an example. But again, like I said, I still think the manager can turn this round. Will he or not? I don't know. But like you said, if we suddenly win a few games, which we should do, we've still got to see how you guys improve in this tough run of games, and then we'll assess the situation. Overarching, I've said this before, Chelsea are in a bit. I think you've got, even though your owners have done a lot of madnesses, I still think your owners will do a better job than our current ones. And with your owners and our owners, you will end up ahead of us again in the future. I've said that in many videos before. In terms of this individual season, I still think Man United can finish ahead of Chelsea and have a successful season that is better than yours. Medium to long term, I don't think we'll be in a better position than you with these owners, but I don't think we'll be in a better position than anybody in the top 6 over the medium to long term. So yeah, that's where my stance is still on that. Interest of time, boys. Speaking of Tottenham really quickly, how do you think they're going to get on against Luton tomorrow? Easy win?
3-win. 3-0. 3-0 Spurs.
Are they missing a few players, though? I'm hearing Maddison might be injured for this.
Solomon is out for a season or something, or like half the season.
Yeah, a long time, yeah.
So they don't have a left winger now, so it's going to be the championship player, Richarlison is going to play there, and it's going to be...
They're lucky that it's Luton, so they'll win. Because otherwise those injuries could, if they were against any team pretty much other than Luton or Sheffield, they might have a challenge. But
yeah. I don't know. They're getting a little bit of a bounce now, though. Maybe they're getting a little bit warm to the Prem now. Do you know what I'm saying? Maybe they can do a little. Do you know what I mean? You guys don't think they've got no chance?
Mate, it would be a great way to start the weekend, but I doubt it.
Tottenham could be top of the table. They could be top of the table.
Luton are playing at home. They're playing at home. 12:30. Okay.
Tottenham could be top of the Premier League table going into the national.
Yeah, they could. They could. They really could. Terry, you say Arsenal are scarier than Wolves, but we have beat City 3 times since Arsenal beat them in 2015. But they are a big club, of course. Yeah, I get that, but
go on, Paul.
Yeah, go on. Yeah, well done, Paul. Wolves are better than Arsenal. There we go. It is futile sacking the coach. Should United have kept Oli, LVG, Moyes? If it was the wrong manager, you sack him, even if he doesn't solve all the issues. Yeah, and again, I'm not saying you keep the manager if he has to go. This is the nuance in the argument. Anyone who believes that suddenly there's going to be a magic wand that's waved and we're going to become a brilliant team is deluding themselves. If they're right, I'll hold my hands up and very gladly say, wow, that was brilliant. But I just can't see it changing.
Interesting, sorry, just quickly. Interesting how he didn't put Mourinho on that super chat. So does he think that Mourinho was the only one that they should have kept? Is that what he's saying? Or?
It's the problem that I have is nearly all the guys that want, nearly all the biggest voices that I recognize that want Ten Hag sacks are all the same voices that wanted Ralph, Oli, Jose, LVG gone. All of them each time said this squad with the new manager could win the league, and they've been wrong each time. But each time they just repeat the same analysis, and I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I feel like I'm in cloud cuckoo land sometimes. It's the drug she's... Okay, let me make sure I read this right. She's been Ten Hag in for a long time. Now she's finally seen the truth once she's off the crack. Okay, my friend. Fair enough. Hope your nana's all right and all that, bruv. There we go. Listen, I want to say a big thank you to everyone who was tuned in today. We're live tomorrow for all the match reactions and on Sunday as well. So please make sure you are tuning in. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very soon. Peace.